What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. You know who this is. It's the Dad Bod God, baby. It's Piers Austin. And tonight, man, we got a special one for you. We got the big man, Big Brodie Marshall in the building, and I'm excited to get into this conversation with Brodie. Man, I'm pumped for this one. But before we get into that, you know I need to take a quick second. Just a quick pause for the cause, baby, to thank our sponsor for this evening, and that is healthvape.com. Healthvape.com is your healthy vaping alternative, ladies and gentlemen. All of their products are no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals. They help restore your energy while giving you the vital boost you need to get through your day. So, go and check out healthvape.com. Check out all their vape and pod products. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount at your final purchase. But wherever you're finding us, I appreciate you for tuning in. If you're tuning in on YouTube, tap that little red button and tap in, subscribe, like, share, all that good shit. Hit the bell to stay notified so you don't miss a single episode or clip. Also, if you're listening on a podcast platform, please give us a five-star review. I appreciate it. Helps with our analytics, helps us bring more amazing conversations to more amazing fucking people like yourselves. So get to click and help a brother out. But without further ado, I think I've talked enough shit. I've gone on for a minute and a half. Let's get into my conversation with big fucking Brodie Marshall, baby. Boom, we're live, baby. What's up? Brodie Marshall in the building.
G'day,
Welcome.
Piers. How are you, mate? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited to have you on, man. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me tonight.
Mate, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure, my friend.
Man, before we get into it, I got to say, for a guy who's now a commentator, you have to be the most jacked commentator. I'm putting that out.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. Yeah, I like, even though I've retired from the ring, I still like keeping fit. So, yeah, no, I don't think I'll ever give up fitness. So, yeah, no, it's good. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you.
Hey, man, if you don't keep doing it, you lose it, man. That's the thing, you know. I try and keep as fit as I can, man. But, you know, I've never been a body guy. But, I got a gimmick to uphold with Dad Bod God stuff. So.
Yeah, own it, mate. Absolutely own it. Jeez, I'll be there soon. Trust me. Like I'm slowing down.
Yeah, I know the feeling, man. But talking about slowing down, man. Like last year, you decided to retire from wrestling. 2013, you have your first match. 2022, you decide to sort of call it quits. What was the main factor for you? End up retiring? Was it just injuries, or was it just like you had enough?
Yeah. One little correction. 2012, I started wrestling. No worries. It's all good. I'm just trying to boost my own ego here. No, I stuffed my neck in wrestling, so I injured myself pretty badly a couple of years ago. And it's just, when I say injured myself, it's just a wear and tear injury. It just keeps coming back. So it's to do with my neck, my C6 and my C7. So to give you the full breakdown, you've got a hole in the middle of your spine that goes straight down the middle of your spine. Mine's actually in those two vertebrae has shrunk and is putting pressure on my spinal cord. And then in your vertebrae, you've got two little holes that go out each side. They've shrunk as well, and they're putting pressure on my nerves. So I have an injection every couple of years through the front of my throat into my spine to chill that out, because it becomes unbearable pain. And I was doing good. I was actually I'd actually had that done I was doing fine coming back into wrestling. Last November, I was meant to sort of make a comeback, and then it flared up again. And as much as I love wrestling, it's not worth the injury and keeping it going. So every time I go to get a needle in my neck, it involves an MRI. It costs me about $3,000 each time. So yeah, it's a bit of fun. So
and it wouldn't be
yeah,
the most pleasant thing to experience either, like a syringe going, like jabbing you in the throat.
no. I have to go to sleep for it. So, but yeah, no, it's not ideal, and it just sets me back every time. So, with fitness, with work, with everything. So, unfortunately, something had to give, and that was professional wrestling. Unfortunately, but I still do love it, and I'm still part of it. So, still doing the commentary thing at Riot City Wrestling. I do love that. So, it's been an amazing ride. And honestly, I know this sounds pretty silly for people that either aren't into wrestling or don't understand it. I wouldn't change a thing in regards to that. I still would, if I knew then what I know now, I still would go follow the same path and do professional wrestling, because it not only opened up my world, both physically but also socially, and wrestling has given me so much in my life, and opened up avenues that I never would have had the opportunity to have there if it wasn't for wrestling. So I've done TV commercials, I've been in short films, done some modeling shit, like all sorts of things, and it's all because of wrestling. It's all come because of wrestling. I've got to wrestle. I was in the same ring as X Pac, wrestled some American legends. It just tagged with X Pac, which was just a fucking highlight in life, to be honest with you. So.
Did you get to do the socket?
Yeah, all that sort of stuff, which I felt weird about, because I was like, but
Because the
yeah,
whole
no,
time you
it's
get told not to do other people's shtick, right?
shtick.
And then
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And we're doing all that sort of shit, but it was all gimmick and whatever. But it was
yeah,
just fucking great. And meeting those dudes outside of the ring and just hanging out and chilling with them, going on tour, and um, you know, having a few beers with a couple of them as well. So I got to do that with the late great Jay Briscoe. So that was absolutely fucking sensational as well. And just both him and Mark just were, well, Mark still is, but just sweethearts of blokes, like just absolute legends. So they've got a chicken farm. My uncle has a chicken farm, so we just started conversing around that. And
that's awesome.
yeah. And we just, I don't know, it was a weird connection that we all started chatting. So Mark was calling me Big Luke the whole tour, so that was cool. Luke's my real name. I've just shot that out there. Yeah, so it was just really good fun. So and having a chat and a beer, like, once again, just experiences. Wrestling has given me experiences that I never would have had before.
I'm actually friends with these two brothers in the States called the Dead Presidents, and they came up with the Briscoes.
Oh, really?
And like, yeah, man, like they worked a lot of shows when like they were younger, like around that early 2000 mark when indie wrestling was fucking hot.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
dude, like a lot of people that I've been able to interact through, podcasting and networks and shit like this is like all these people I've become friends with that have told me about the Briscoes, and we've had like these like I've had people ring me and we're having conversations about it after he passed, and these grown men that you look at and go, there's no way this person could ever show emotion, or like
yeah,
crying down the phone. And it's
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? And everything before he passed was like, man, like I got told you have to interview the Briscoes. Like these guys are fucking crazy. Like you'll have a
Oh,
ball. Like, and
yeah,
I really wish I could have made it happen. And it was like unfortunate that it didn't. Like, with Jay, but man,
yeah,
everything I
yeah.
think about those guys or Jay was just absolutely amazing human being.
Agreed. And they were like, and look, once again, I keep saying they were, like, Mark still is, like, but
Mm.
legitimate stars and legitimate wrestlers, and fucking savages, man. Like, those blokes made shit look real. Like, they were so, like, as a tag team, they were so good. So um, so we got them down for World Series Wrestling, um, and it was Chris Basso from Riot City Wrestling who was like, Adrian, you have to get the Briscoes, like, you have to.
Yeah.
And he goes, just do it for me, do it for me, do it for me. And credit to Adrian, he did. And I tell you what, it was just fucking great. And just sitting there listening to some of the stories they talked about back in their young days and how crazy they legitimately were. Yeah, it was a good eye opener and just funny dudes. So yeah, no, it's just, once again another experience that I wouldn't have had if it wasn't for wrestling. So
and it's funny because like the one thing that I notice is like you like when you meet someone like at wrestling shows or whatever, like that, like obviously people working on shows and you're having conversations with them, majority of the time the conversation is around wrestling. So when you actually find someone, like when you start talking about other things outside that wrestling world, it's like, oh cool, you're into that as well, all right. And then you sort of like you start interacting with people and you're getting to know people outside of that wrestling bubble. You know what I mean?
yeah, 100%. And I mean, you talk to these dudes. Wrestling is one their life, which you'll either get dudes that do want to talk about wrestling, or dudes that definitely don't. Like they do it all the time. They want to talk about other shit. So, yeah, it was cool. Even like, I mean, we've had some of the tours with people like Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle didn't talk about anything wrestling wise outside of wrestling when he was down for the tour. Another funny dude, total tripper. Like what you see is what you get with him.
It's thrown out of his brain.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, but like, it was a bloody cool dude as well, man. Like I'll never forget. We were waiting for him. So they arrived in Melbourne. I think it was Melbourne. Yes, it was. It was Melbourne. The same time as the Arnold Classic was all rocking up, and so I'm standing there as the Aussie cohort to round them all up, and we're going to go on the bus.
Yeah.
And some ladies come up to so we're all standing there waiting. I think we're waiting for Brian Cage or someone to come off the plane anyway. And some ladies walked up to us and goes, "Oh, you guys with the Arnold Classic?" And Riddle's just like flexed. He's gone, flexed his arms, and then just gone, "No." It was just so fucking funny. It was just bloody great. He had us laughing the whole time. It was just but kept to himself. Just once again, but like I don't know. You see these dudes and you realize that compared to Australian wrestling, that they're on a different level. I know it's their career, and where a lot of Australian wrestling, it's not. But I was watching. Riddle had a match with, I think it might have been Slex in Sydney, and they were going through their match, and Riddle was putting it together, and he was working the match out with Slex. They were going through it all, and then he would know when the chance would come while he's working his match out. He'd be like, da 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 da, then bro, and then like he picked when the chants were happening as he was working his match out. He goes out and does it, and exactly. He had it down that. Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, holy shit, this guy really does get it. So yeah,
like
to a level
that's
that
like really understanding your character and what you need to do to get a reaction from those characters, because like for a most part, like you see, and even on like a WWE level now, like and some on NXT, it's like you see people going out there and having matches, but they're just almost like going through the motions. Like I find, like I don't know, like I kind of like, yeah, I mean, I don't want to say I look at wrestling through a different lens, but like, you know what I mean? Like when I sit down and watch wrestling, like I know when something looks good and I know when something looks off, or you know what I mean? Like, so when I'm sitting there watching it, like, and I see him just like going through the emotions, like do a move, get back up. And like I see, why wouldn't you, like that's a heel? Why would you do a move, then quickly go into a next move? Like take your time, look at the crowd, you know, taunt your opponent, then go into it. Like
yes, yep. And look, that that's knowing. So Demi and I, or Demi and a lot of the Riot, so Rhea Ripley and a lot of the Riot City people are very close. And you just hear some, like she's telling us stories about they'll rock up to a show and then just, this is an example, that not a true example, but an example, where they'll rock up to a show, they'll get told they've got 10 minutes, and then 2 seconds before they go out, they've got 3 minutes. So they have to go out there and then change everything on the fly, and try and put something together while they're out there for what was a 10-minute match cut down to 3 minutes, or that. And she says that happens a bit because it's one segment might go over and all that sort of stuff. So TV is very different. But like you were saying, I think once you've been around wrestling and you're either you've seen matches been put together, or you are a wrestler or anything like that, you have a different view of what wrestling is. So you understand it in a different way. You become more cynical about it, I think, and you get a bit more judgy because you think you know better. But
you know what?
but you also live it.
But you know what? I've never taken a bump. I've commentated or rung announce. I've been an on-screen manager, and only in the last really 3 years, or last 2 years really. And it's like, but for some reason, I watch less wrestling now than I ever did. And even now that I'm on regular shows or doing regular podcasts, talking with wrestlers wherever, it's like I still sit down and go watch TV and going, should I watch Raw? I probably should. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. What are you know what I mean? I watch more
100%.
segments and matches here and there of certain people that I want to check out, but when I sit down and watch something, I'm like, yeah, no, stay away from the wrestling at the moment.
I'm 100% the same. Look, I've got a bit of a vested interest in it now that Rhea's in it, so I'll watch her stuff. But I will say honestly, the Bloodline storyline for me was really, really good with Sami Zayn. That actually got my attention, which is rare because I normally don't give a shit. So
I thought that was told beautifully, like that whole story, the lead up to it, everything like that, him standing up for himself.
Yep.
I think, in all honesty, I thought that during that match, when I thought that Roman was definitely going to go over in it, but I thought that they were going to call, I would have been surprised. I wouldn't have been surprised if they came out and word got out that an audible was called during the match where hey, Sammy's going over. Because I think you had someone so hot, white hot, hometown, something like that, that reaction, man, that would have been like when Mick Foley won the title.
Legit. And it was like that real slow burn. Had that sort of Brian Danielson sort of vibe about it too, like the underdog sort of thing, which was really, really cool. Like it was just, you see interviews with Sammy as well saying, this is probably my peak. So I'm really happy, no matter win, lose or draw, how this storyline works out. It goes, it's just thankful for the opportunity, which is so good and so refreshing to hear. So, because nothing fucking grinds my gears more than wrestlers that are unappreciative of them getting a shot. So.
Well, you know what? I feel like there's some guys that you talk to, and mainly a lot of older veterans, where it's and not necessarily in Australia so much, but more like the US, where they've got this sort of sense of bitterness to the business. Not they love it, but it's kind of like a cheating wife, right? That's the way that they've explained it, is you're fucking so angry, but you love her so, you know what I mean? This woman cheated on me, but fuck it. You know what I mean? It's like that. You can't stay away.
Yeah, for sure. And you're probably right. And I've said this many times as well. To be a professional wrestler, you need to have some ego in you, and if you don't, it won't work. So you need to have a bit of self protection and a bit of pushing yourself. I'm coming from an Australian wrestler's point of view. Like in America, your career depends on it, so it's even more savage than what it is here. But you need to have a bit of prick in you to make it work. I mean, you've got to have ability, and I personally think you've got to have somewhat of a body as well. And I understand the Kevin Owens argument, but that's the minority, not the majority. But
Kevin Owens can go out there and captivate an audience, and
absolutely.
Not many people, even people with bodies, can do what he does.
Yep. I got told these great words of wisdom from a legendary wrestler here in South Australia called Matt Rott. He said, look at your wrestler as a total points of 30. So 10 points are for your looks, 10 points are for your wrestling ability, and 10 points are for your personality. And if you can score 20 out of across all those three, you'll be good enough to become a pro wrestler. If you can't, so if your looks are 3, your personality's 2, and your wrestling abilities 4, you're not going to be a good professional wrestler. You need to build those stats to get that to around a 20 before you should become a pro wrestler.
Mm. Do you feel like, because I feel like the big statement now is like, wrestling is for everyone. And I agree to a certain extent. Whereas like wrestling can be for everyone, but it's for everyone who's prepared to put in the work. And that goes from anyone doing anything on a show, from a commentator,
Yeah.
ring announcer, manager, wrestler, like booker, whatever it is. But you've got to put in the work. You've got to like, be a professional. Do you know what I mean? Like do the best that you can to get to that level, if that makes sense. Do I make sense in that?
No, absolutely. Wrestling is for everyone, yes. Being a wrestler, I don't think is for everyone. And what I mean by that, and like if you put in the work, yes, I get it. But the thing that we don't have in wrestling, because we're not a legitimate sport, believe it or not, and because we don't
What
have
do you
any
mean? You don't understand it's not real, man.
busting the fourth wall.
Yeah.
But we're not regulated in any way, shape, or form, and we don't have any sort of division. So it's real tough. I could be Johnny Kickpads and start a federation tomorrow and hire all people that don't know shit from clay and call myself a wrestling federation. And unfortunately, the problem that this is, I think, wrestling worldwide, but here in Australia, the problem that we have is that we have too many of those federations, and that for the non-fan that wants to go see a wrestling show and watches one of those shows, goes, Australian wrestling shit, I'm never going to watch it again. And
Mm.
that is really harmful for what we're trying to do here, and the legitimate feds. And I'm not saying that there aren't feds out there trying, and I do think that there should be some out there giving it a red hot bloody go. But train your people properly. Go to a school where there is legitimate, proper training. Go to a school where there's a recognised Australian wrestler there in some capacity, and work hard and listen. Just fucking listen, because there's a lot of people that come in thinking that they know it all from what they've seen on TV, or they want to come in, start training, and learn a shooting star press, and then go straight into matches. I mean, at Riot City Wrestling, I trained for a year before I got on a show, and I'm glad I did it that way. So the lads there had enough pride in their product to make sure that we were ready to go. So look, I still went out there and was finding my feet. So it was
Of course, yeah, but
still a
everyone's
tough gig.
fine. Yeah, but for the first show, and I think like that's the thing. Like I feel like where I think Australian wrestling will improve when someone comes in and can go, you know what, I'm going to start a national training pro wrestling gym, which is going to be in every single state,
Yep.
every major state, let's say, right? So
Yeah.
Melbourne, Adelaide, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth,
Yep.
and and have those all covered, and it's under that one brand. And you have some of the best trainers in those states working for those thing as the head trainer and developing it up from there and having like a certain standard. And I think
Yeah.
like I don't know if a curriculum is really possible in professional wrestling. But like, I mean, have people in there who have trained people there who have had the goods, or people that have been at that high level that now live here in Australia, and try and really build it from there. Because I feel like anyone can really, like you said, get a ring and say, "Hey, I got a ring in my backyard. Let's do a show." Or, "Hey,
Yep.
yeah, I've wrestled. I can teach you." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and I'm
Yeah.
sure there's carnies out there that are taking like kids' money that way, where of like
Oh,
they're just unqualified to even train anyone, but they do it. You know what I mean? They're training these like kids that have probably got that aren't the full faculty themselves,
yeah.
going and giving
Yep.
away their money, and they're scamming people.
I guarantee that's happening. The good thing about the wrestling scene is that a lot of the time, if that shit gets found out, it gets squashed pretty quickly
Mm.
by the other federations. It happened here in South Australia not long ago. When I say not long ago, a couple of months ago, not even.
That was that
Um,
that federation they turned up in a. Is that the one where like the owner messaged a fucking fan calling him homophobic names and threatened to kill him?
yep,
Yeah, that's the one.
yep,
Yeah.
it's pretty charming. So,
Mm.
but and that, like, people just shit on it. It was like, hey, like, get the fuck out. You're not welcome here. So, but there's fringe federations that are doing their thing, and once again, I think what you were saying is right. I think that would be good. There is a curriculum. We had one at Riot City for a little while. You had to do certain, be able to be capable in certain moves before you could progress to the next level. We don't do that anymore. We should. That's a good idea. We'll bring it back.
Well, like I said, I don't know if that would be a thing that work. Yeah, I mean, I've never trained wrestling, so I wouldn't know if it works. I'm just like throwing a random thought out there.
Yeah, no, and I mean, you're on the right page. The one thing about a national I mean, one, I think it'd have to take a few people to. I was talking about ego before, but a few people to drop their ego and be willing to do something like that. We've got some. I mean, look at some of PWA, MCW, Riot City Wrestling, Wrestle Rampage. Like, we got some really good fucking talent here and good federations. EPW in Perth. We got good dudes, man. So it's just a matter of getting it out there. We're getting more recognition now than we ever have, and we're getting. I mean, look at the amount of Australians in WWE at the moment. Not that that's real, not that that should be a factor. It is somewhat of a telltale sign, but it just our talent pool here, I think, is very underrated worldwide.
I've said, like, I think we have some of the best tag teams in the world. I think we have some of the best female presenting people in the world. I think, like, without a doubt, like, I try, like, when I do watch wrestling, I watch a lot of indie stuff and I'll occasionally watch WWE.
Yep.
And like I sit down and watch these shows, and it's like I feel like our performers, like our female presenting performers here in our country, miles above the rest on the same independent level. I think a lot of some of the women we have in this country should be signed, and I'm surprised that they're not.
I 100% agree with you, and even that level that our girls are at, say girls, our women are at, compared to, I mean, bloody hell, whatever. I'm gonna like you watch even some of the WWE matches, and you're like, holy shit, this is just fucking terrible. Nothing that Rhea's ever been, because that's all fucking girl. But like, I mean,
hey, you gotta put your girl over, bro.
No, but like, I mean, like Sasha Banks, Charlotte, like they're different level to some of the other female wrestlers out there. Those the four horsewomen all came up together, and they're all bloody sensational. But yeah, you're right. Looking at some of the international women's wrestling and comparing it to what we have here in Australia, we kick its ass. So, I mean, you got people like Delta, bloody Jessica Troy, like Shazza. Like, I know Shazza's going overseas, but like bloody good talent here. Like, really fucking good talent that is comparable, if not better, than what's being put out worldwide.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like, for the most part as well, like, I think it's because women do get the platform here in Australia. And I
Yeah.
think, like, and I think that's where, like, wrestling is going in general. But I feel like women get put on a platform where they'll go and, like, have intergender matches and, wrestle against guys, and they can do that. And it's, what I mean? And it can be made to be believable. And that's where, like, I think a lot of people go, oh, it's not believable. It's wrestling. Anything in wrestling can be fucking made to be believable. Like, that's
totally
been my take since day one.
Yep.
But do you think that that's a big factor as well? Like, like the women here get these opportunities to wrestle top tier talent, no matter of the gender?
Yeah, 100%. And that only builds the wrestlers themselves. So we do a lot of intergender stuff here in Australia, which I think a lot more than what they probably even do in the States. But that I can tell you now, just going back to like, well, Delta, Demi, like they all train with the blokes. They're in the same ring. We're doing the same moves, and we're training alongside these girls. And there is no. Actually, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that there wouldn't be an Australian federation where the girls are training by themselves. So it would be that they're training with the men and developing with the men, which I think grows them further, which is great. And not to be sexist or any shit like that, not saying men are better, but we're less inclined to hold back with some stuff than I think some of the women wrestlers are, and that's probably going to get me heat. But fucking so what?
What do you mean by less inclined to hold back?
When you're wrestling with a dude, I mean, with and this is some of the feedback that I've heard. Take Demi for example. She'll go wrestle with back when she was wrestling here in Australia. That a lot of the girls wouldn't want to take the moves that Demi wanted to give because she'd been training with a bloke. She was taking all those moves, like whatever it was, a missile drop kick from the top rope, for example. Some girls didn't want to take that sort of stuff, and she used to get frustrated about it because she's like, I can't express my art as I should be able to because the other person doesn't want to take it. Where I think once again with the an outright city wrestling, if you're in the ring, you're in the ring, you're training, you're doing exactly what everyone else is doing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, well, that's the way it should be. It's like it doesn't matter what it is when you're in that ring. It's like you got to do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a funny old game, wrestling. So
it's funny how how wrestling is and like how the certain things work and as you said before when we talked about like the a national promotion and people swallowing their egos, that's the thing where it's like I reckon it is probably the hardest thing. It's like for some people to sit there and go, oh, I don't know if I can let go of this, or just letting go of that grip just a little bit.
yeah, and you just got to. I say this here in Adelaide as well. You got to put it into perspective. So here in Adelaide, if you're an Adelaide Crow, everyone or a Port Power player, everyone in the state knows who you are. If you're the top wrestler in South Australia, you can walk down the street and not one fucking person will know who you are. So the ego is our own, and it's in our own bubble. So we get caught up in shit. We're famous to 1,000 people or whatever the number is in each state. It's like it's like in a state with the 1 point whatever million people we've got here, we're still small, but that's a drop in the ocean, not even a drop in the ocean to the people that know us. So our fame, relatively speaking, here in Australia is very minuscule compared to the top tier sports. And have an ego, that's good, but look at the greater good of Australian wrestling and trying to build that. Rocky Monero said this in at one of the trainings or one of our presentations, or it might have been an awards night, whatever it was. Anyway, our job is to get the casual fan to come to shows. Our job is to get the non-wrestling fan to come and watch what we do. So that's the only way that this industry grows. And it's the only way that we get more bums on seats and make this, I'm going to call it a sport because I honestly think it is, make this sport grow and become bigger and give people the opportunities where they may be able to do this for a living one day. So once again, I think the talent pool that we have here is just fucking phenomenal, but we just we don't have the fan base to support it.
Do you think that there could be a national Australian promotion that could draw just as many fans that, well, to say to a WWE show might be a little bit excessive, like at current form, but like, you know what I mean? Like, let's say like a Ring of Honor or an Impact show, which I feel like that's probably more achievable. So, you know what I mean? Like as a target, and then obviously growing from there. Do you think that there could be an audience for a weekly television show in Australia for wrestling?
Television, yes. Live touring, not so much. Australia's too fucking big, and there's too much money involved. Putting World Series wrestling together is like, it just gives you a perspective of how much money is actually involved in putting these shows together. I think television, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's too far away, but I think it would be very achievable. And just getting people to become household names is a huge step. But once again, like I said, I think we got the talent, not just in ring talent, but psychological talent, production talent. Our commentary teams are like some of the like around Australia are bloody great. So I think we've got the talent here in this country to make it happen.
How did you find going from wrestler to commentator?
Actually, really difficult.
Yeah.
I yeah, just difficult in regards to I fumble my words sometimes for one. Two, I keep calling people by their shoot name, which is just terrible. So that's that's just fucking terrible on my part. But also just, I mean, it's a real skill, and I think if you thought
Yeah.
you could go in and do it, like it sounds easy, but when you're actually doing it out there live, and we do it with I do it with two other blokes, Paul and Angus, and having three people and trying not to
That's
talk over each other as well is a you sort of got to wait for your turn and make sure you're not, you know, interrupting or talking over people. So yeah, no, it's once again it's tougher than I thought it would be.
You know what? It's one of those things. Like I feel like if you haven't done it and you see it on television or you see it on Fight TV and you see, go, that would be a cool job to have. You just sit there and just talk about wrestling, about what's
Yeah.
going on,
Yep.
and it's like I've had people say that to me, and I just look at them and start twitching, and they're like, "What?" And it's like, bro, like you know, like I remember one of the first times I commentated on, I was like at an intermission, went outside, and I'm like having a cigarette, and this one of the fans came up to me, he's like, "Hey, Piers, yeah, how you finding?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, good, good, good." He's like, "Yeah, I think I might ask him to give me a crack next time." I'm like, and I'm like, it doesn't happen like that, mate. Like, I didn't just say,
Yeah.
"Hey, can I have a crack at that?" Like,
Yep.
it's not. You know what I mean? Like, some people's perception of it is just like, "Huh?" Like, no.
Absolutely. Yep. And you got to know your shit. You got to know what you're talking about. You got to know moves. You got to follow storylines. You've got to once again, that all might sound easy to the layperson, but when you're out there doing it, it's harder than you think. And full credit to anyone that's on commentary because my hats off to you because it wasn't an easy transition for me. I'm still finding my feet. So, but like both Angus and Paul are bloody wizards out there, so they're very easy to work with. They're super giving. Like they've been doing it. Obviously, well, Paul's been doing it for a million years. Angus is new, but he's bloody great at it. But I'm the rookie in that scenario, so I'm very much the rookie.
But I feel like as well, like as you just said, you know, you've got two people there that are good dance partners and or good
Mm,
people to be with.
yep,
And I think it also depends on who you're with as well. Like I think like if you've got one person that's good and one person that's like they're okay, then it
yep,
can be passable. But when you got two people that are like, we they were free.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yep,
Like
yep,
that's where it can sort of like be really bad, but it's you know, like I said, man, you know, it's putting the professional into it. If you're going to be involved in it and you're going to be someone who doesn't take bumps but be involved in wrestling,
yep.
you got to come in at a very professional level. How you present yourself. That's my take. You've got to present yourself as a professional.
Yeah, and you'd know this as well. Behind the scenes, there's an etiquette that sort of that needs to be followed. If you're going around being a big shot or whatnot, you get once again shut down pretty quickly. So um, the as much as people know wrestling and all this sort of shit, until you've been out there and done it, you've physically done it.
Mm.
Uh, it's 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 one, it's not as easy as you think it is. Two, it takes a much I think people think, oh, you know, all of it's fake and nothing hurts. It fucking hurts. I mean, my neck's fucked because of it. So,
100%.
you know, yeah,
100%.
yeah,
That's the same thing. It's like when people say it's fake, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like I had this conversation with Farley the other day. It's like when people say that fake word, even around me, it's just like,
yeah,
that
yep,
that doesn't sit right with me. You know what I mean? Like, and I
yeah,
think some people say it, like non-wrestling fans say it to try and get a rise out of wrestling people or wrestling fans. But like,
and they do.
and yeah, like, but the thing is, it's like then it's like, oh, if it's so fake, go have a look at Brodie Marshall's neck, or
Yeah,
go have a look at JT Robinson's back, or you know what I mean? Like all these things. It's the you know, go tell Robbie Zuko's daughter that it's fake when he went through a cage. Like, you
100%.
know what I mean? Like,
And go out there if you've never wrestled before. Go out there and just run the ropes and see how you feel after running the ropes 5 times. Like you'll feel like chucking up, and your back will be sore as dicks. So, it's just simple shit like that that people don't understand. Your body needs to get conditioned to this stuff. And yes, your body does get conditioned. And that's why we train so bloody much. But yeah, it's not it's conditioning, and it's just like we are. I had this discussion with good old Matt Grimbasso not that long ago. What we do is so dumb. We go out there knowing that we're intentionally going to hurt each other, and we know when it's coming, and we know how much pain that we're going to be in for entertainment. It's not even for money. It's just to entertain other people. And we'll go out and we did a hardcore match where I've jumped off of stupid heights and gone through tables from outside the ring and all that sort of shit, knowing that like that none of that's fun. Well, it's fun. It's fun to do, but you're going out there knowing that that's going to be a part of it, and you know when it's going to happen and how it's going to happen, and yet you still go out there and do it because you love the whole art and the entertainment of it all. It's just it's like with footy and stuff. If you get hurt, you might know you're going out there to get hurt. But you don't know how, when, or to what capacity. But with wrestling, so
Yeah. Well,
it's
some things it's like you go, well, I'm going to get fucked up on this one. It just depends on how much I'm going to get fucked up.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. 100%. So, and you do it with like, you come back and you're like, how fucking cool was that? Like, I almost broke my neck. That was fucking rad. Like, not almost broke my neck, but you know what I mean? Like, it's it's just it's for the love, especially indie wrestling. It's for the love.
But I feel like fans don't really get it because, like, certain things that you see in wrestling, where it's like, we spoke about this earlier, is like people not taking their time or no selling or like, you know what I mean? Like not taking the time and selling is like, I believe fans now, they believe because the business was so exposed and the internet came along and everything like that, that people's perceptions of it are so different. And I've said this before as well. Wrestling is the only form of entertainment in the world where like fans like, you know what I mean? Like the certain fans that look at wrestling compared to other types of things, like going to like say a Broadway theater, right? You would never think about going and getting up on stage or going and touching the stage or grabbing, but like you see fans trying to go and get in the ring, or you know what I mean? Or like, you know what I mean? Like if there's someone doing a Broadway play and it's like, I don't know, Barbara Streisand, for example, and she's playing a character, they're not yelling out, "Hey, Barbara," you know what I mean? To try and fuck with it, you know what I mean? Like it's whereas I think fans are so very warped. I think some wrestling fans, not all, but some.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about this before. I'm not on Twitter anymore, but look at Twitter, for example. I mean, I got off it because it's just, well, one, I thought it was bullshit, but two, just the fan interactions. And I was talking to you about this before as well. The interactions that we had with World Series Wrestling behind the scenes with some of the fans that we just blocked because just saying stupid shit or not. It's a show, like it's a show that we put on, and Adrian, I'll give Adrian 100% of the credit. It's his company. Put on to try and bring some international talent down to Australia, and fans still shit on it because it's not the person that they want to come down. It's like fucking no one else is doing this. WWE aren't coming. AEW aren't here 2 or 3 times a year. Like no one's fucking here. And Adrian's bringing him down to, he gets money out of it. Yeah, it's not a great deal of money. He does make money from it, but it's not you can buy a house with it or any shit like that. But it's like he loves wrestling, and it's about the love of trying to share that with Australians who still shit on it. It's just like, grow the fuck up and just be grateful that some of this shit's happening. I don't expect you to just go, this is like suck anyone's dick or any shit like that. I hope I can say that on here, but
you can say
cool. Okay, cool. But like, it's not about that, but just some of the shit that gets said, it's like, just shut the fuck up. Like, just be happy that you're getting to see some of this, or like awesome talent that's from around the world that you wouldn't have been able to see before. So,
but that's the thing. It's like, if it's not for you, you don't like who's coming, whatever. Like, why post something negative? Post something like, "Oh man, it would have been really cool to see XYZ on this card.
Yeah,
Hopefully you can get him next time, but I'm still excited. Thank you for bringing out, like, not
yeah,
even saying
yep.
thank you, but hey, maybe next time you can get
Oh,
him. Like,
no, and look, and we do get fans that do exactly that, which is great. But there's a lot that don't, and it's not easy to get these people down. And people also are like, why don't you come to Brisbane? Which Adrian's doing the tour in October that will be going around all the other states. A lot of people thought it was they didn't go to Brisbane. I don't know if you know about it, but Austin Aries hurt his face on a ring when I was on that tour, wrestling on that tour. Um, and a lot of fans are like, oh, they don't come to Brisbane because the Austin Aries incident. It's got nothing to fucking do with it. It costs a lot of money to get to Brisbane, and we've got a short period of time to get these wrestlers in and out. That's why it's day, like it's 4 days and then go home, because these wrestlers have got to get back to America for TV tapings or indie shows or whatever, or stuff that they've already got booked. So it's a time constraint, it's a money constraint.
yeah,
This one Adrian's doing to, I think, spread the wealth and let everyone have a bit of a thing. But like I can guarantee you, he won't be making as much money out of this tour coming up than he has the other tours, because of the travel. You got to remember that each night that they're here, that's a hotel night that they're staying in. They all have separate rooms, unless they're a couple. They all have separate
yeah,
rooms, buses, flights, all that sort of stuff. It's not cheap. It's not
yeah.
cheap. So
100%. And like I feel like, and I want to get into the World Series stuff, but we'll keep on social media stuff.
yeah,
Like,
go for it.
do you feel like with the social media stuff, you said like people sort of just saying absolute bullshit. Um, do you feel like social media has become like a bit of a cesspool for that kind of thing where it's like, I mean, I feel like anyone can create an account, anyone can say whatever they want behind a fucking fake account or whatever, that sort of shit.
Yep.
And it's like, I mean? Like, why is it? Like, is it people that are they workers that just want to vent their frustration out on certain topics? Or is it just these crazy fans that have like no fucking idea about anything?
I think it's more people think they know what's going on
Yeah.
and they want to vent their, like, some people are like, okay, there's people out there that are just trolls and fuckwits that will do
Yeah.
anything anyway. So you're going to get that no matter, like, that's in footy, that's in
Mm,
basketball, that's like they're on social media. They could be about your favorite TV show. There's trolls and everything. There are a lot of fans in wrestling that think they know what's going on, what they've heard on a dirt sheet or something that is factual. When I say factual, I'm doing air quotes. Like, it's just, I think people think they know what's happening or they know better than other people, and it's a bit of a pissing contest to who knows the most, and they're eager to shoot down even the promotion that's doing it because they think they know better than what's going on. Um, a lot of the times, and there's been some stories with even World Series wrestling stuff that I've seen on there that is just like, holy shit, where do the people come up with this stuff? Like, it's not even close to the truth of what's happened. So, but someone heard it from someone, and that's all been passed around, and
Chinese
it's,
whispers.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally. So wrestling fans are passionate. You can't knock the passion. I think that's bloody fantastic, and I think that needs to be encouraged. But
absolutely.
um, it's one of the few. It's a weird dichotomy in regards to it's um, it's a work, but people talk about it as if it's real, or there's deliberate stuff that gets put out that is a work. I mean, um, there's heaps of stuff that does that, especially like with AEW. I think they're trying to keep it real and doing the work thing all at once. So, um, but people just fall for it, and then it's a pissing contest between each of them to know who's the best. And then I don't know. It's a work, but people treat the stories and the way that people, like the wrestlers and their attitudes and stuff like that, if it's real. Some of it is,
Mm,
especially on your Twitters and stuff. And I think that's hard too when, um, especially in like your big superstars like WWE wrestlers and stuff. I know that Demi had a thing recently where she did a bit of a shoot on the fans hassling her at the airport.
yeah.
Um, Things like that, is legit, but other stuff, you know, it's a fucking work, and you're getting worked, and you're turning into a bloody mongoloid because you're falling for what the situation is. Just take wrestling for what it is. It's entertainment. Be
But
entertained.
you got to question some people's mental faculty.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
it's like
100%. Yeah.
there's some people like and you see it shows you have people that have mental disabilities at shows and stuff like that, and they're getting
Yep.
really into it and they think it is real. So
I
could
don't.
be people behind it, but then there's also people that are just like, and I've met the other side of that where people just crazed wrestling fans that just treat it like it's like 100% what they're seeing is real and what the person's saying is their true thought.
Yeah, mate, we've had it, and well, first of all, I'll go back to the mental people that have got disabilities or mental illness or whatnot. Like that's an exception to the rule, and I fully understand that.
100%. 100%.
And I'm not talking about that, but I am talking about. I mean, in Riot City Wrestling, there's a couple of guys there that were getting super passionate about the AEW and WWE war that was going on when it first sort of came about. I'm like, settle the fuck down, dudes. It's like it's wrestling. People are trying to make money out of this, and they're doing what they
100%.
can to get eyes on the product. Like it's wrestling. It's entertainment. It's
But it's
enter
worked though
fucking
because it's
tainment.
got them talking about it though.
Yeah, but to the point where it's silly. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
it's not. You know, it's negative and it's turns into name calling and all that sort of shit where they're having a go at each
Yeah.
other. It's like just grow the fuck up a little bit because you know there's bigger, more important things in life. I get you. You're spot in saying that. You know, bloody here in Adelaide, Port Adelaide people and Adelaide Crows people just about fucking kill each other. So you know, it's
But that's
over a game.
but that's the difference. It's like you look at football fans, right?
Hmm.
And compare football fans to wrestling fans. Let's compare St Kilda fans to AEW fans.
Yep.
So St Kilda can go out and have a game, right? And it could be the shittest game that they've had, and their fans will go, "That was a shit game, but I'm still a fucking fan." Whereas AEW, and I'm saying AEW because I see this quite a bit on Twitter, it's like something shit could happen there, and their fans go, "That was the greatest thing in wrestling history. Dave needs to
Yeah.
give that fucking 5-star." I'm like,
Yep.
did we watch the same shit, bro?
Yeah. Yep. And once again, that's passion for their brand, which I
Yeah.
like. I somewhat respect, but then we'll shit on everything WWE does. Like, and it's like, well, mate, credit where credit's due. Like, you know, it is once again, it is entertainment. It's fucking entertainment. Like, you don't have to like it, but just shut the fuck up and stop being a wanker. So that's
It's funny. Like I saw the thing where like MJF threw the fucking the
oh
water
yeah,
on,
the water on the kid or whatever.
and it's like the comments that I saw. Oh, he should be fined. He should be taken off TV. And I'm sitting there and I just think to myself, well, fucking played. You
Yep,
worked everyone into a fucking shoot.
legitimately. That's where like I didn't really trust the CM Punk after the media scrum thing. I didn't know whether that was a work or a shoot. So
Neither,
just
I still think it could be a work.
apparently he's coming back. So from what I hear, I don't know. I really don't care. But it's but
Right.
that's that's all part of it. It's all part of it.
Yeah.
Once again, it gets eyes on the business. It like legitimately it was a buzz with wrestling because of what was going on. I hate things like I mean it doesn't affect me, I don't know why I should hate it, but I hate things like dirt sheets and stuff like that because I think it's all a bit bloody um uh it's easy to fuel that fire of negativity and stuff in things like dirt sheets. Um,
Mm.
and you know, Dave Meltzer and all that, they've made great livings out of it, and good on them. But some of the shit, like people got to remember as well. Once again, these wrestlers are making their living out of what they're doing. That's their life. That's their livelihood. That's how they feed their families. It's like an actor on a TV show, you know. But with this, it can change and turn into legitimate heat over bullshit. So,
Mm.
and sometimes stuff that's not even true. So, you know,
And
it's
that
just
would be a hard thing as well. It's like these people
mm,
getting information and just sort of spread, like, you know what I mean? Like, I've heard like people like the wrestlers and people in the know actually feed certain dirt sheet writers fake information, and then when it pops off, they're like, oh, look at this fucking mark, we got him.
yeah. I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true. So, yeah, it's. I mean, look. I mean, we're sort of lucky here in Australia. We don't have that too much. But once again, we're not famous enough. We're not famous enough. So,
I think
which
to a
is
certain extent there are a couple of like websites out there, but it's more of like I don't think it's like them reporting of backstage shit. It's more like reviewing shows. And for the most part, it's all pretty positive reviews. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
nothing.
and I've seen a fair few of those, and I don't have issues with those. I do celebrate the fact that people get off and not get off, but get up and do those sorts of things,
Yeah.
because it spreads the word about what we do. Whether you like the show or not, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
There's always the whole flavors of ice cream scenario that people
100%.
don't like. It's funny. Did a podcast with Todd Eastman and Lockie just straight after the World Series Wrestling show in Melbourne and the last one in Sydney, and we had differing opinions on the card, just due to the fact that the styles of wrestling that we like, and that's totally fine. But once again, still appreciated the art form. So it doesn't mean that I necessarily like a lucha libre match where someone like Lockie did. So that's totally fine. It's just that's not my cup of tea, and it doesn't have to be. But I don't need to shit on it because I don't like it.
Yeah, and I think that like the one thing I find hard is when I'm reading something or seeing, a podcaster reviewing a show, and then they're going, "Yeah, this person is such a shit worker," and I'm like,
Yep.
"Tell me more, veteran."
Yeah. What, mate? Exactly. Come and step in the ring and give it a go. Come to a training. Fucking, come and try and do what we do. We do what no other sport does, and I'm calling it a sport.
Yeah,
You go tell a dancer, hey, you've got 20 minutes to work out your routine for a 20-minute match or a 20-minute dance. Go and do it. Go out and perform it perfectly with another person for that amount of time, and then tell a story. Make sure that there's highs, lows, and that there's you can build a crowd up, you can pull a crowd down. Make sure the finish is something really, really technical, or it is something that is leading into something else, and then come back and see how you go. I can guarantee you that there's almost no other sport, drama, dance, anything like that does that. Wrestling is a legitimate art form, and to do it and to I can tell you now that bloody mate, there's plenty of times where I went out there and I struggled to remember matches and whatnot, but the teamwork that's out there when you're working with a good partner, or a good opponent, um, the level of teamwork, coordination, just being ring aware and working the crowd and listening and changing shit on the fly because
yeah,
you understand what's going on both in and out of the ring is a skill, and it's way harder than people think. Look, there's plenty of mate, there's plenty of shit wrestling out there, and I know that was like in regards to just people who haven't been trained properly, or they're wrestling and just unfortunately not doing great at it. But you know, I'll give them credit. They've gone out there and given it a try. They've followed a dream of theirs, and once again, if you're an Aussie wrestler, you know that you're either not getting paid or you're not getting paid very much. So it's a love, and I will always tell people to chase their dreams. I just suggest go to a good school, get trained properly, and make sure that you're learning the craft for what it is.
Do you feel like schools can be real with people though? Because like I feel like
Yeah,
wrestling schools at the end of the day is a business, and it's like someone paying a gym membership essentially. And but like, do you feel like it puts them as a business in a rock and a hard place? Because say for example, you have a student that comes in there and like they're just not coordinated. They've got two left feet. They're just not picking things up. They've been training for 6 months, and they can't do the simplest of things. And it's like, at what point would you sit down with someone and go, hey, listen, maybe being an in-ring performer isn't for you? Or do they just go, hey, we'll just keep taking your money and keep showing you shit and we'll just keep this going for a long period? Which I'm sure there's schools that do that. But it's like, as a business, do you find it's like a bit of a rock and a hard place because it's like you're then turning away a customer?
that's a sensational question. Yes.
Mm.
I think it does happen. I am a strong believer, and we do it at RCW, of tryouts. So I don't believe you can just rock up to a wrestling training camp and say, "Hey, I want to train." And it's like, "Yep, come and join the crew." Um, we weed a lot out through our tryout process. The business side is tough because we do it at Right City Wrestling. You're paying rent for a location. You're also, in some cases, you're paying trainers and whatnot to do the work as well. You're right. It 100% is a business. It's a business that runs on the smell of an oily rag, in most cases, and it may. I can tell you now. They're like with some. Most federations in Australia, what they make out of wrestling, they pump back into wrestling. So they pump back into production, all that sort of stuff, to get it to the level that it's at. Do they hold on to? I'm sure there are schools that would hold on to people just because they're paying their fees, but yeah, I don't know. If you feel like you're in that category, I'd probably try and change schools and try and learn somewhere else. In saying that, once again, I personally don't think that wrestling is for everyone, and wrestling takes time. Wrestling's not I'll do this for 3 weeks and I'll be on a show. And if you are in a place where that's happened, you're probably on shit shows and don't know it. So once again, I'll go back to it. It is an art form. It's a craft. It's something that you need to work at. And I would once again sincerely go to a school where there's at least one person that you either recognize as a wrestler that's been around Australia and wrestled, or someone that is a wrestling legend within Australia. So,
but I even feel like that. Like if you look at the Australian wrestling scene in every state, there has been people wrestling on top shows within the country. Even
absolutely.
You look at most of the top talent, whether they're from PWA, EWA, you know what I mean, RCW, MCW, and like there's a few, EPW, a few others. So please, guys, don't get offended. I didn't say you fed, but you know what I mean. Like there's so many like top tier feds out there that have such top tier talent on them that it's like if you're going to go to a school, it's like, oh, okay, I've seen this person. Yeah, that person main evented a show. That was really cool. You know what I mean? But if you're going there and going like, you wrestle? where have I seen? You know?
Yep. No, totally. And look, I mean, the federations that you just named are probably like the A grade football players that are doing like playing at that level, and that's totally fine. But also, wrestling isn't always about being the most jacked guy, the most technical wrestler. You know, I was talking about that rule of 30 before, just trying to get your score of 20. There's like if you've got personality and you've got a look, and you're 10 out of 10 on both of those, you may not be able to be the best wrestler, but there's a spot for you in wrestling with those two talents. So it's just about working to your strengths. And look, sometimes you might go to one of those feds and unfortunately, you might not just be good enough, but there's refereeing, there's commentary, there's stuff behind the scenes. There's a lot to do in wrestling. Sound, lighting, all sorts of production, the social media, there's a gamut of stuff that you can do to help out as well. But if your dream is to absolutely get in the ring, and you don't feel that you fit in, I would say in each state, there's at least 2 good feds. So just maybe try somewhere else and give it a go. So in Adelaide, ACW is really starting to come up now. So we got PWSA here too. So I'm not going to shit can any of those guys, but I just think they're at different levels to what
Sure.
Wrestle Rampage and Riot City is. But like train, learn the craft. You can go get your in-ring experience there for a while, build your craft, learn your talents, all this sort of stuff. And we've had it with Riot City. We've had a heap of guys come into Riot City and be very, very successful in Riot City that have come from other feds and learnt their craft there. Would they initially have got in the ring at Riot City Wrestling to start off with? Probably not. They've gone and learnt their art somewhere else and got to a level where they can come and start performing with the A graders, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah. Yep. Do you think it's possible for Wrestle Rampage and RCW to do a joint show or to work in some sort of collaboration?
Another good question. If you'd asked me 10 years ago, absolutely no fucking way. Today, yeah, it could happen. Like the relationships have changed for the better. We're using talent from both feds on both feds now, which is really, really good. Yeah, I think it could happen, and I think, you know, once again, it's a lot about dropping the ego and all that sort of shit. And also, you know, it is a business, so you are protecting your business. You want to keep the fans coming to your show rather than going to theirs, because that's how we make money, to keep
100%,
the train going. But definitely, I think there definitely could be, and now more so than ever, just because people are starting to get it. So it's really, really good. It's positive. The wrestling scene in Australia feels really positive right now. I think the number one fed in Australia at the moment is PWA. I think they're absolutely killing it, and I know Bonza has really helped change that place. And you know, it wasn't great before, but it's really stepped up to another level. But you know, like, there was a time there where Riot City was number one. There was a time there where MCW was number one. So it's just it's forever evolving and ever changing, which is great for Australian wrestling.
But
So
do you think there's like ebbs and flows? Like, you know, one moment this fed will, pardon me, be hot, then next moment this fed will be hot.
yeah,
You know.
no, totally. And I think talent and creativity within your group make and change that. So you know, the wrestlers that you have, I mean, look at, I still don't know why he's still in Australia wrestling, but Mick Moretti is just a fucking genius. That bloke, I think, should be in America or Japan or somewhere doing it. You know, just like there's true talent in those. Like, I mean, Robbie Eagles is back and forth, but he's an absolute superstar as well. So getting that recognition helps. Production helps. Putting on great production. I mean, PWA's production and their promos and stuff like that they're up there with the best in the world. So
Yeah, I agree.
you know, we do stuff at RCW, which is great as well, but PWA is next level. So it just is, and I'm happy to say that, coming, and I'm an RCW guy. It's just you're right. It does ebb and flow. You know, it just depends on the talent that you've got to work with as well, which is, you know, bloody hard sometimes. So
It is, and it's interesting because like I'm at a variety of different types of shows, and it's like you can sort of see where the top tier is at, and you can, you know what I mean, like, not, and that's not shitting on any feds, but
no,
it's just like,
no,
you see it's like certain things, how things are put together and how ideas are executed. It's
yep,
like some people just have this, you know what I mean, have this higher way of thinking about the business, I feel like, or a different way of thinking about the business.
yeah, totally, and it's just once again, it's that egos thing, mate, as well. So that does play a decent part of it as well. So, oh, and look, money makes a difference. So and how you spend that money makes a difference too, because I know there's some feds out there that have got money that spend it like idiots. So yeah, but it's an interesting scene. And the thing is, with talent, once again, like I said before, we go out there for the love of it, and you either don't get paid or you get paid very little, unless you're in the top 1 or 2% of Australian wrestlers. You know, it's doing it for the love, and not everyone's prepared to do that. When you can go play B grade footy in the country and get $500, so
Yeah.
a game. So you know, that's what you're competing against. So
But it's interesting. Like, did you hear about this drama that's been popping off in Melbourne? I think yesterday.
no, probably not.
It,
But
it
go on.
was apparently some like no name fed was getting upset, and I don't know. They said something. They got upset because someone said something about their belt that had stickers on it, or something like that. And most of their guys are untrained, and it was like they were basically destroying. Oh, don't take away our love for it and all this. I'm going off like getting messages from certain people and working out what exactly was said. Like, I
Yep.
don't know who these guys were. I didn't see the tweets, but it was like, yeah, like everyone was like, "Oh, what's going on in Melbourne today?" Like, it was going nuts.
Yeah, and I'll go back to what I said earlier, and I don't know the Fed, so I'm not trying to shit on anyone. But if you've got a belt with stickers on it, don't fucking have the belt. Like, once again, if we've got the casual fan coming in to watch your show and that's what they see, and they walk away going, "That was fucking shit," and they never come back to wrestling again, it's because of your crappy production that is killing the industry. So it just needs to be at a level. And if you can't get to that level and you've got passion, that's fine. You can have passion. I want to be a fucking bloody brain surgeon, but I might not have the hand skills to do that. Like, it's not for everyone. But if you do have passion, bloody go and work somewhere else. You don't have to start your own shit and like, not fuck it up for the rest of us. That's not right. But like, you tarnish what we're trying to do here in this country by being a bit of a cowboy. And you know, like, this shit, unless you've got a shit ton of money, your dad's a bloody millionaire or some shit like that, this stuff takes ages. Right City Wrestling's been around for years and years and years. And like, same with MCW. PWA's been around forever. You know, they're not like Wrestle Rampage, which has had a few incarnations and name changes, but it's feds that have been around for years that are the predominant ones, because it doesn't happen overnight. And
No.
once again, we go back to talent. Talent plays a big part of it, and people want to go to these feds because they're known for that.
And that's the thing as well. It's building reputation. It's building brand awareness with your audience. And
Absolutely.
like, I think that like people see wrestling and they're like, oh, they're going to be the next Vince McMahon or something like that. And it's just, you know, and I think that that's what the whole Fed was. And I think that the tweet was something about like the sticker belt, like, you know, don't insult the intelligence of your audience.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
no,
and it was
and that's probably a fair call.
and it was like untrained performers and stuff like that. It's like, well, if you weren't trained in a wrestling ring, are you really a wrestler?
No, no, you're not. As much as you want to be, you're not. So if you've never run the ropes and you've never taken a bump in a ring, you're not a wrestler. So,
Boxing rings don't count.
sorry,
Boxing rings don't count.
boxing rings ever fuck. I wouldn't want to bump in a boxing ring. No fucking way. So, yeah, but yeah, like, mate, I'm not going to knock boxers. They're fucking harder than I am. So,
Oh yeah,
that's,
they're
that's
not getting,
totally
they're not falling back first onto the canvas either.
yeah, exactly.
Not willingly.
No, or normally it's face first. So, but yeah. So, yeah, no, it's just a thing. Like I was saying before, you can't walk out, kick a footy, and then go want to play AFL the next day. You need it. There's training and all sorts of shit that's involved, and you need to be able to go down that path. Like I said before, I trained for a year before I was on shows. And once again, I'm paying money to do it. I'm not getting anything out of it. I just, once again, it's for the love and just wanting to learn the craft. I'll stick my hand up and say I wasn't the fucking best wrestler in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but it wasn't, like, it sounds really bloody. It wasn't skill that got me there. It was hard work. So, and the fact that I'm 6'6", that helps too.
Oh,
So.
brother, straight to the top. Hey man,
Exactly.
well, you know, it is that time of the show. It is time for 60 seconds with Piers. If you tune in for the first time, how this gimmick works is I'm going to fire off a bunch of questions at Big Brodie Marshall. He's got 60 seconds to answer as many as he can.
Shit.
All right, brother, you ready for me to start the clock?
Go for it.
All right, one has to go. Game of Thrones, Lord of Rings, or Harry Potter?
Harry Potter.
Aussie rules or NFL?
Aussie rules.
Okay. If you couldn't wrestle, what other career would you have wanted to do in sport or in athletics?
AFL. Yeah, footy.
If you were given $1 million to start a business, what business would it be?
Oh, good question. Shit. I'd start a brewery.
Which politician in the world would you want to sit down and share a beer with?
Shit, that's another good question. Actually, probably at the moment, probably Peter Malinauskas, the South Australian Premier.
Would you rather win $10 billion or live for twice as long?
Live for twice as long.
Would you rather own your own boat or own your own plane?
Plane.
What is something that you enjoy that you're embarrassed to admit that you like? Kind of like a guilty pleasure.
Shit, actually, yeah. Okay, so I collect toys. I've got a room behind me that I've got all Masters of the Universe stuff in. So I'm a closet nerd. So I have all that sort of shit.
What board game do you always win at?
Shit, I don't really play too many. I'll be honest with you. I'd love to say chess, but I'm not that intelligent. I can play chess. I just don't win it all the time. Scrabble. I'm pretty good at that.
So you invite someone over to your house for a meal. What meal do you cook to impress them?
It's my own dish. It's called mushroom bapade bupade, which is just a made up name, but it's it's a pasta with a rich red wine mushroom sauce, and it is fucking sensational.
Sounds good. Last one, but not least. In 5 minutes' time, you're being shipped to outer space. What 2 personal belongings do you take with you, excluding human beings?
Vaseline and a stick mag.
Whoa. That escalated quickly. We've had a lot of interesting ones at that one. I always end 60 seconds with Piers with that question. I've had someone say a pocket pussy, and that's it, and a charger. I had someone say a jar of peanut butter and their dog.
Yes, brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant.
And
I'm glad I'm not the lowest of the low with that answer. That's good. That's good.
No, absolutely, man. But hey, Brodie, where can everyone follow you on social media and show you some love? And do you have any merch available as well that people can grab?
No, I've never done merch, so I should have done, but I wasn't smart enough to pull that card. But I'm just on Instagram, Big Brodie Marshall on Instagram. If you want to come say good day, I'll chat to anyone. So I'm on there. I'm not on there as much as I should. I'm not a massive social media person, but yeah, just come hit me up, say good day, go from there.
That's it, man. You know what? We're gone for an hour and 16 minutes. So you know it's been a good conversation when you don't even notice how quick that's passed.
Yeah,
But we got to get you back on for a part 2 sometime in the future, man. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
No worries, man. We'll catch you again soon. Everyone, we'll see you soon. Take care. All the best. Peace.